MK, and I am here with another layout featuring the 31 days of cut files, and today I have the last stitching file. So these are the two threads that I picked out for my stitching. I also have a wax sheet for my title, but then I don't end up using it. From Cocoa Vanilla, I have these fun glitter alphas. They're from the Sun-Kissed collection. So a bunch of happy little words. I don't know why I haven't used them much, but I think it's because they're with my Cocoa Vanilla stuff and not with my alpha stuff. From Freckled Fawn, I have these washi-like stickers. From Bohemian Dreams, I have also Cocoa Vanilla. I have some sprinkles left or some epoxy hearts and dots, and then the what are they called? Vellum flowers. And then also from Bohemian Dreams, I have the cut-aparts that are from the paper pack, and then a few embellishments. Some of them are my own. Some of them are Sarah's from Scrapbook Addicts. I have two photos going on. I think they're both the same, but I think I'm going to end up using them both instead of just a single photo layout. Here is my cut file, and I wanted to share with you guys that every now and then my machine does this weird little black mark on it. I don't know why, but there's always two sides to every cut file or to every piece of paper. So it's not a big deal. I'll just flip it over and use the back side. Also from the Sun-Kissed collection, I have this beautiful ombre paper, which I plan on using all three sections of. And then from Bohemian Dreams, I have this gorgeous floral paper, which is a little too bright for me. So I'm going to tone it down by using it in the layers for my photo mats. Okay. So I'm going to use both of those sides and hopefully use the whole paper up just to map my photos. It might seem a little extreme, but I do love how it looks in the end. All right, so I'm going to get to stitching on this layout, but first I think I am going to ink this. I think I'm going to have my sun in this lower left-hand corner down here. I'm going to take my blender brush, and I think it's mustard seed. But I use my swatch quite a bit to test to see which color I actually want to look for. The upper color, the upper section is my distress ink and the lower section is my distress oxides. I like to see them side by side so I can see the two differences. And then of course I've got little splashes of water. So I picked out mustard seed and I'm going to start with that. And I'm going to start in the center and work my way out, going lighter and lighter around the burst. And eventually I do end up bringing in, I think it's called marigold or something like that. I bring in the orange eventually, but not until after I stitch, when I realize that that's just a little bit too yellow and not enough burst of orange going on. So of course, I wait for the ink to dry just a little bit to see whether or not I've got enough coverage. Do I like the way that it's blended? All that stuff before I keep going back and blending some more. This is, of course, my first go around, but like I said, I end up bringing in an orange, but I can't remember which one it is. I know it's not carving pumpkins, but it's the one next to it. And I don't think I share with you guys either, because what I'm doing here is I'm actually going to be doing what's called a whip stitch on this particular cut file. So I'm taking my orange and doing, the first part of the whip stitch, which is just laying down what they call a cord. And so from the first stitch, or from the first hole to the last hole, I am just bringing in my orange, and I do that all the way around. And now I'm taking the bright pink color. Yes, I said pink. I'm bringing in the bright pink color, and this is only one strand at a time. Now, clearly, I'm not going to make you watch this, but what I do is I go through the cord, and I create these crosses going all the way up and down the cord of the orange. And it create this gorgeous pattern going on. And then, of course, like I said, I brought in that orange color and blended it with the yellow just a little bit. And then I added some splatter of water to finish off my background. Now I'm going to be going and doing all of my photo mats. Like I said, I wanted to use all three sections of this particular ombre color, so that way I could have all of, all the colors represented. I've got the yellows and the oranges and the pinks, and then of course what kind of looks like red and pinks. So, and I'm just going to layer them up Right now I'm cutting everything at 4x6, but then when I figure out how small I need to make everything, I will go back through and trim everything down 3/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch, and then of course leave everything at 4x6 when that's going to be my final size. Obviously I can't make it any bigger. I had room to play, but I didn't have room to play on the 4-inch side because I just really didn't know if I had all my numbers figured out and where I was going to take the photo mats, then I definitely would have played with the paper a little bit more, but I thought it would be easier if I just went ahead and started at 4x6 and made everything smaller, seeing how I am working with two photos that are very similar. One of them features the dock and the trees, and the other one is just the mountainside, or well, I should say the hillside, and you don't really see the dock or the trees. So there's not really a whole lot of difference in the two photos, but I do like the representation of the two photos. So especially that, I just love sunsets and sunrises, and they're just gorgeous, you guys. All the way around, they're gorgeous. All right, so I've got all of my papers cut, and what I'm going to do is distress only the ombre side. I just want that color peeking out from behind my photo. So I'm heavily distressing the ombre sides. And then I will leave the floral prints. Now, am I wasting the floral prints? Probably. But if you guys know me, I'm not real big into floral prints. So I just really wanted all that color to be represented behind my photo. So I'm going to angle out that floral print just a little bit so you can see that color going behind my photos. And then I will have it tiered 3 different times. So it's going to be an ombre with the floral, then an ombre with the floral, then another ombre with the floral going behind, and it's going to be on both photos. This way, I've also got layers to be able to tuck elements into. So I will have the ombre, 3 different ombre layers to help me tuck in elements and give me that dimension on the layout without actually adding any foam adhesive or anything like that to the layout, because I've got all this dimension and all it is paper stacked on top of each other, and then of course the elements tucked in the various layers. So there is an advantage to doing this, even though it does kind of look like, oh my God, she just used up all that paper for what? Well, I used it because, again, I get to use the layers in between each other as the dimension, so it does add. I keep saying the same thing over again. I'm also making sure that the angle of my floral print is going at different angles for each layer, so that way they're not matching, but I am also trying to keep it nice and tight within, so that way I don't have a big, huge cluster by the time that I'm done, or a big, huge photo mat by the time that I'm done. And I really do like how it ends up looking in the end. But the name of the game for at least last month was to use my stuff. And I have had the Bohemian Dream papers and embellishments and all of this stuff for a long time. It's one of, I think it's one of Coco Vanilla's firsts. I'm not really sure. I know it's several years old, 2017, I want to say. And I need to use it. And I knew that I was not going to slap this whole piece of floral print on a layout to where you could see all its glory, because it's not me. But I do like how it's represented here in this layout. All right, just trying to figure out how I want my sunsets to look on the layout without covering up too much. I wanted to make sure that I could see the twine and the stitching all the way around the photos, but I didn't want to put it right in the center of my, I didn't want to put my photos right in the center. So here I'm taking all of those vellum leaves or vellum flowers and tucking them in the layers. I am going to need to pop up. I do need to use a little bit of foam, so that way my bottom photo does lay properly. But I'm taking all the florals first and making sure that they have a home before starting to add all of the little embellishments and whatnot, all the leaves. And I'm just working with what I have. I definitely could have punched out or die cut out more of those light green leaves in different colors and whatnot. But I thought, you know what, I'm not going to. I'm just going to bring in what I have here in this stack. And most of it is, especially the Bohemian Dream collection, most of it is about encouraging. They're encouraging words, encouraging for people. It really didn't have anything to do with a sunset. So I definitely needed to come up with something. And that's where the lawn fawn little words come in, because some of those definitely can be used for a sunset. It's just, magical moments and what a fun day, things like that, because it's things that people would say watching a sunset, a sunrise, or at the end of the day type of stuff. I took some of my elements that I had, like that butterfly, and trimmed down the thick white border. Now the chipboard pieces I am not able to do for that, so I definitely just left them as is, but I only had 2 chipboard pieces left from this collection. I'm using foam to help pop up some of the pieces, just a couple of the flowers, so that way they could stay a little bit dimensional, because I did curl the ends, and then when I pop them up, the ends that are popped up as well can get smushed in and down, but then the foam kind of still keeps them curled. It's kind of hard to explain, but it does help. I promise it helps. And then I also have a couple leaves left over from Scrapbook Addicts, and I'm tucking those in as well. So that way I can get a little bit of different leaf elements going on. Not everything is the vellum leaves. So I like the solid and the vellum going on. And then I have some leaves from the die cut packs as well. So I have not glued that bottom photo down just yet. I'm still trying to figure out if that's, where I want it, because once I put the liquid adhesive on that foam, it's kind of permanently there for all that, and then I won't be able to tuck things in, is what I'm trying to spit out. I also am leaving that gap between the 2 photos and the floral areas for my title. I just haven't figured out what my title is just yet. I'm trying to come up with a cute little saying, because there is only sunshine. There's not sunrise. There's not sunset as one of the words, which I wish there was, because I don't use sunshine a whole lot. So I definitely just reading the words off to the side and trying to come up with a super cute title using what I already had, instead of going into my stash and trying to figure it out as I'm gluing things down. And like I said, this layout is very dimensional, and so far all it is a bunch of paper. I did end up using a couple foam pieces just for a couple of the floral bits and pieces. I'm using that little label there just so that way I can have a spot for the title, just in case it gets lost. And I decided to use the word love the sun, or use the words love the sun, because I do. I love sunrises, sunsets. I love sunshine, you know what I mean? I like it when it's sunny outside. It just feels happy. It feels upbeat. It feels good. And so I love the sun. So I thought, oh, that's absolutely perfect. And then of course, I don't cover up all of the circle bits that I did not stitch. I just chose not to stitch the circle at all. I could have went through and blacked out all the circles before cutting it, but I just left it. And I'm okay if a couple dots show or whatnot. I don't really think they're visible with everything else to look at. I do off camera go and take these washi tape like stickers and cut them out on just plain old cardstock. It's a scrap piece of cardstock that I had hanging around. So that way they are a little bit more visible, but I add 3 of those to my layout. And now I'm going to add all of these enamel hearts and dots to this layout as my little sprinkles. It does take me a bit to figure out where I actually want them. Like I said, I struggle with hearts, and everywhere I place them, they look like they just look like they don't belong. And where I first initially want to put them, it kind of doesn't feel right. And then, of course, by the time that I audition them in other places, it doesn't look right either. So I end up going back to where I originally put them. So yeah, hearts are hard for me. And then, of course, where I wanted to put my dots, I've already put the hearts. So now I have to figure out another spot for the dots. So that way I know where, so that way it looks good and not just forced, basically. And that is the layout that I have for you guys. Like I said, it was super simple. I love doing different stitches, you guys. It takes time, it takes patience, but the end result is just fabulous. I like the little detail in that stitch because it's not just a back stitch. It's not just a chain stitch. It gives it a different look and feel, even though it took about, I want to say 2 hours. And I say about because it wasn't me sitting there solid and stitching. It actually goes by really super fast. If I was able to just sit there and stitch, but I wasn't. All right, you guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really, truly appreciate it. I know I haven't said it in other videos, but there are links down below for the playlist and the Facebook group if you want to go check out everybody else's creations using these cut files or similar cut files for the day. All right, thank you so much, and I will check y'all later. Bye.